Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Oscar. I'm the head of data and AI for ThoughtWorks in Spain. I'm beta testing this picture, so any feedback is welcome. And here you can find our LinkedIn. You have doubts at the event, and also the website of the data service line of ThoughtWorks. So let's talk about data mesh. And before that, I want to ask to fill the room. How many of you already heard about it and have a small idea what is it? Could you raise your hand? Well, that's good. Nice. So just a brief introduction then. Data mesh is a paradigm that Shamak Degani, our Chief Innovation Officer, released or coined in a blog post in 2019, May 2019. And it's a new way to look at how we handle data analytics in companies. The formal definition that she described and she released this year, early this year, the book of data mesh is a decentralized socio-technical approach to manage analytical data at the scale. I'd like to emphasize the social part of the definition because most people think that this is mainly about technical solutions, mainly about architecture, but that's not really true. At the end, most of the pain points we observed over the last years when it comes to deal with data are not just about the technical solutions, but about the way we operate with data. So how data mesh it's looking to change that, or is what's the proposal? It's while in the traditional data management world, we have in one side, operational or transactional data, and in the other hand, analytical data. And we have this ETL line that you can see that is doing the work of passing the data from one side to the other. We think that this line, or these processes and tools that are the cause of most of the pain points, and if you work with data, you probably already felt it, should be thinner, should be almost transparent. And that will mean to put operational data and analytical data worlds, just the worlds, not the data itself, please, closer together and talking to each other. So how we think this should be done? There is not a single way of achieving this, but we think there is 4 principles that will help to guide this journey. The first one is distributed domain-driven architecture. We are proposing to already get something that's already known, but most of the companies working on engineering, such as domain-driven design, and apply this also to data. There is many companies that embrace this paradigm on their engineering teams over the years. It's well proven for complex solutions, and we think that it should be work, or at least sort of a flavor of it, for data teams. Yes, sorry. The second one is treat data as a product. Like in the previous picture, we were looking at data coming from the operational work. Sometimes we just send data to our analytical plane without even knowing what is going to be used for. And at some point, there's going to be the analytics team consuming the data, treating to make sense of it and to get insight of it. With data as a product, we mean we should listen to our customers. We should listen to the people consuming the data to define what we're creating, what's the data we're dealing with. We think that, again, this process should be customer focused. So anything related to infrastructure, data pipelines should be something smooth, should be something seamless. And because of that, we propose to have self-serve data infrastructure or self-serve data platforms that provide services to data teams working over data mesh. And the last one, even if we think that data should be democratized over the company, and the ownership of this data should follow on the teams working with it, we understand that there's still a need for a federated governance that should be supported by what we mentioned before, but infrastructure and system that guarantee that this governance is going to be compliant. So now that we sort of understand what is this and what is this for, I wanted to give you a brief look to when is a good idea to think about data mesh for your company. And instead of doing the traditional approach and telling you all the benefits of data mesh, let's take a look to when maybe it's not a good idea to implement data mesh and why. So data mesh, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's an architectural pattern or socio-technical approach. And as many others that we know, it at the end is just a promise that if you do something, you will get something if you pay something. So there's no such a thing to say that data mesh is the right solution or is a good pattern, but the right question to ask would be, is this something you can apply in the context? So what data mesh is promising? Well, if we put the data close to the place where it's been originated, to the people who is producing it, we will be able to rapidly create new data products, new use cases, and take more advantage of our data. So long, and that's important, we don't mind to invest on this platform and infra services and distributing skills as well as the autonomy and the ownership of the data. So keeping this in mind, let's see when this could apply and not. First case where maybe this is not something interesting, if there is no need to scale, there is a small context, we're telling that we want to get the data closer to the place where it's being created. But if I only have 3 teams and a couple of data engineers working really close, maybe we don't need to put it closer, it's already close. We don't need to pay the cost or invest in this because it's sort of already done by default. Another use case would be if the data is not key to my business. And this could sound weird, but there is, if you're coding the software for space station, maybe you don't want to experiment so fast, but follow strict regulatory complaints and just get the thing that you was told on. So maybe in this context, it doesn't apply. I don't know if it's the best example to talk about this, but I can tell that there's many more scenarios where experimentation and data is not the key of the business. And then maybe data mesh is not the right bet to do. And another example would be, and this is important, we are saying that the flow, the autonomy of the teams, it will improve. We'll have autonomous teams that will be able to move faster. But this fast flow should be part also of the culture of the company. We were talking about domain-driven design. Somehow your company have to be focused on or aligned with giving the teams the autonomy to work with data, to being the owners of this data, and just enable them to work with it. If you have a more classical approach and you are scared or you're afraid and you want to keep centralized control, maybe it's going to be hard to implement data mesh in any case. These are just some examples of what are the benefits of data mesh when it could apply or not. And now you're going to be able to hear how this will fit into companies that are in the process of implementing it. So thank you, everyone. And I pass the mic to Enrique.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Hi, everybody. Here you go. First of all, thank you very much for hosting me here. So I'm very, very happy to be here and share our experience and hopefully getting a lot of insights from you, because always we are learning. And what I say, no, I'm going to show part of our journey and where you learn more is about your failures, not about your successes. No, so very happy to share later any failures that we had where we learn a lot. So, I'm going to talk briefly about me. Again, about the ego slide. So here you have the QR to my LinkedIn. So just wanted to share that I also very linked to the food industry. My previous life before Adevinta was in Just Eat. So I about this industry I'm in love. So basically later on, happy to share ideas and talk it about the evolution. So also I'm very happy that Glovo came up, because basically was making this industry together a huge thing in the last 10 years. So just check it out, no? But what happened in the last 2 years? I changed, I moved to Adevinta. So basically as Chief Data Officer of Adevinta Spain, where I moved here. So I'm gonna start from this side. First, around the purpose. So let me talk a little bit about Adevinta, and we are going to move around the data. So I'm going to explain a little bit about Adevinta, but I don't know if everybody knows. Maybe later on you're going to know better about our marketplaces. But Adevinta is in the classified ad industry. And basically we have a purpose. And basically our purpose is to make a positive change by helping everything and everyone find a new purpose, no? And basically that one ticks me on what that is something to do in this industry around data, no? Let me see if I'm able to move in the right direction. Sorry about my dyslexia. So in Adevinta, right now, we are present in 14 markets with a lot of marketplaces that are leaders in the different verticals. So as we are in the international community, try to point in the different countries where you are and find where it is. So more specific, where I'm very focused and I'm responsible for that, that is about the Spanish market. So basically we are in 4 verticals, that real estate, jobs, motor, and generalists, where marketplaces or are the leaders or the second nearby, no? That in real estate with Fotocasa and Habitaclia, Jobs Info Jobs, motorcoches.net and motors.net, and in consumer goods, so generalist with Mil Anuncios. Just to give you some scale and about the data that we have to work about, no, for this purpose, we have 18.4 million unique users per month in Spain. We have 17 million ads published every month, and basically we are, well, about the revenues, this doesn't matter, it's more corporate, but about the people working for this purpose, we are 1,200 people, and specific in the data and analytics organization, we are 95, developing this strategy where data mesh has a huge influence in the way that we are evolving. So starting from what is our vision, no, in data and analytics for 2025. This is something that is not just for Spain, it's for all Adevinta markets. So basically, starting with this statement is where everything is moving around. So everybody in Adevinta is able to autonomously consume and share any needed quality data to make a smarter decision faster, accelerate product experimentation, and effectively leverage machine learning. So this one, what we are expecting is like on the same day, everybody is going to be able to take the decisions based on data. So this is where we are moving. And when I mean everybody, it's not the people in data, it's everybody. The number of experiments, so it's something that we were talking before, that we are moving and accelerating. So we expect to scale up, and the way you can read a little bit articles how, no, but we are figuring to be at the right level and the top of the curve is to be around 2 experiments per FTE working in product and tech, and effectively leverage machine learning. And this is the way that we are working, that everybody, every squad in Adevinta is able to autonomously to deploy a machine learning algo in one sprint. No, here we are saying 7 days, but let's be focused in one sprint. Well, what is our journey, no? And then connected to me, no? That in November 2020, with my arrival, so before me, basically, we were having like data engineering, data analytics in different areas. So let's start with the first point. All the data organization is under the same place. This is March 21. So during the summer, last summer, eBay classified ads joined the family. So basically that was a huge bump. So basically we, as the map that you saw before with Apple, our footprint. So then during this year, we have moved, no, and moving in this way, I'm talking more now about the Spain, in a way that all the marketplaces, they are working on the same infrastructure. So think about that is when I arrived, no, in Adevinta, everybody was already very autonomous and decentralized, but in a way that was not interoperable at all. No, we were having marketplaces that were acquired at different moments, but the problem is of using our competitive advantage of what is happening in jobs, how can I use in motor on the other way around, was not possible. No, so now we are at the position that everything can be interoperable and then used in the benefit of the users. Good. During this year, so basically by the 2023, so also connected with Oscar that was working with us, ThoughtWorks, so making a little bit of spoiler. So basically we are working towards this global scale. So we are implementing all these standards in order to be not only interoperable at the country level in Spain, so basically to be interoperable with the global scale at the level of any marketplace. No, the benefits like a motor marketplace in Germany can be really operable with the motor marketplace in Spain. No, that's the ambition. By 2024, we expect to have like this full decentralization. So basically, we are moving toward like the values at the edges. So basically, everything is autonomous to use data without data people. So the specific, like if I know having a data analyst, data engineer, ML engineer, no, this classic problem, no, we are moving towards this literacy, and we are expecting that this is going to be by that time. And basically, with our vision to meet that vision is like every single thing in Adevinta. So it's not like having, you know very well, like we don't expect like scaling like every single squad at the speed that we are growing. And maybe we can connect with the Glovo way, like if you are growing at the double, triple digit, it's not scalable to put an ML engineer, data engineer, data analyst in every single team in order to untap all the data capabilities. What are the foundations that we are working on? And basically, it's like the one that we are applying right now, and you can connect with what is the data mesh, no? The first thing that we applied. So common data platforms and tooling. So sounds like a simple. So basically, when you saw the different marketplaces, like from InfoJobs, Coches.net, etc., all of them, they have moved, and we have simplified that they don't need to use or create their own tooling again and again, and then from the smaller marketplace can get the benefit of the biggest thing. So basically, we move out, and everybody is getting all the benefits of this scale. Share culture. This is something that when we are talking about like how do you make this ownership to be close to the source, overall is like working with the culture of the team. So basically the way you distribute and basically making part of the bets of the tech strategy in Adevinta, where it's clear like you produce it, you own it, no? And this is helping to make the things easier in the way for this journey, no? And basically every single squad producing data is the one responsible to push towards the analytical way. So it's not like the classic way, no, that we move that you are having like a central or data platform team where they need to go and collect the data from the teams, no? That we know that this one is not the scalable way. And then global governance. the way that we are implementing, no, and then we are iterating. So maybe later you will see that this called something like a distributed enabler teams. So basically, our roles, for example, in data engineering in every single domain, that they are having a second role, like a percentage of the time they meet together, the different domains, and they are defining and aligning the rules that all the disciplines they're going to follow. No, this is the way that we connect every single domain following the same standards. So basically avoiding having like a central point of governance, like the classic police, trying to put the rules for everybody, that we know that this is not scaling. And then basically these are our operational principles that are the simple, but until we got there, we had a lot of discussion, no? Like innovation is at the edges, no? So basically being in Adevinta, like over 8,000 people, no? Where you have central, cross teams, etc. So basically we know that the value should be nearby the marketplaces. So basically the value generation is and all around data and the efforts are in the marketplaces, and is where the innovation should come, no? And that's the reason that we remove all the plumbing work, so on tooling, etc., from these teams. Aim for common capabilities through pull over push, no? This is maybe more specific for Adevinta. So this is some of the failures that I want to share, and is if you are trying to create from the central point of view a team that is creating capabilities for everybody and just looking in one direction where you are having teams that are not able to influence this roadmap, it's not going to work. So basically you need to work in a pull way. So basically, or you are close to the teams, knowing what they need, or basically this capability, the destination is going to be technical debt that they're going to need to remove, because not all the countries are going to be adding. No, this is something that we learn also in our path of how to implement this. No, and maybe some ideas that we are practicing now, but we can talk in other meetup of how to implement something called inner source. No, that is the way that you can create an open source inside the company. Collective insight, as I mentioned before, the way that we are working with the distributed enablers. Data product as a share, I'm not going to enter more. I think Oscar explained very well what it means. Decentralized data ownership. So this is a clear turning point in our strategy in the way that we are able to scale. I think a thought work was explained, but for us, was a way that we reduce a lot of waste. So traditionally, our data engineers, they were in the middle, trying to fix the problems or tweaking the data in order to make it available for the business. So when you are able to make the squad or the product teams that the data that they are producing, they need to deal with the quality that they are exposing for the rest. And basically they need to also have as a feature and measure the experience that they're giving to the users. This is changing radically. Basically, you are having back data engineers working in something that they love, like creating value and not fixing problems in between the line. And collaborative decision making. This is very related to Adevinta. So we are super multicultural. In multicultural, I mean that you have marketplaces that I don't have the same needs when I'm talking about info jobs, and it's a different problem about cars. And in every single country, we have a different levels of competition. So basically, we have a process where we try to have like the more representative view of the markets in the way that we are deciding. So basically, we are a really, really decentralized company in a way that we are making our decisions. Yep. And this is basically just to give you an overview of what is our box. So in our house, basically, we, in a way that we are trying to work at the top, that maybe you know better this, Oscar, that we're working. So this is a representation for Spain. So we have boards that are working, representing the different markets and marketplaces at the top. So basically is where decisions are made, but in the big scale. So for example, engineering, what is the right capability that will be great for all our marketplaces. So then we have every single vertical that you can see here that are the focus on value. And then areas cross that are more focused, as you can see here, common components, advertising, sales, corporate. So basically everything about tooling and areas that you can reuse everywhere. And then at the bottom, we have teams that are working in the platform enablement. So as Todd was said before, so basically are teams that they are working to create capabilities for the teams in order to make easier and more accessible our data. So basically we are trying to reduce every day our cognitive load for our users in order to be able to use the tooling. No, like traditionally we're very focused for data engineer, like how can we make more tooling for data users that maybe they don't have coding capabilities. No, we need to give this access. So basically the teams are moving and expanding in that direction. No, and also making super advanced or specific things like around for example, for the machine learning platform, because our machine learning engineers, they are getting more and more needs of high volume capabilities that maybe the commercial tools are not able. As you saw, the volumes that we are having in Adevinta, when you need to pay by the use, is not scalable, these kind of solutions, and you need to play in this direction. And then on the right, that is our enablement teams that are representing the disciplines, are the ones that they are helping to work in this federated governance and defining what are the right rules that then our platforms, they will get in their backlog in order to implement and try to get this computational governance, no, in a way that every user will have the best experience when they are using our data tooling and not having to read something to know what is good and what is bad to do. So basically the tooling limited what is the right direction of when you are building a new data product. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you very much. Sorry, I was thinking about the point. So later on, we will have more questions. So, Pablo?
Good evening. Who's convinced about data mesh already? Everyone, of course, the Glovo people. So hello, I'm Pablo, I'm from Glovo. Glovo, for those who don't know, we are the yellow bags people, and our mission is to give easy access to anything in your city. I'm not gonna talk a lot about Glovo because I believe that you all know what we do, and that's what makes us great. That's me. In the picture, I am a data addict, and that's why I'm giving this talk about data mesh. So what I'm going to talk about is essentially our journey. This started about a year ago. We were in a more or less critical situation, which I'll talk about, and we started moving into data mesh, crawling, walking. And disclaimer: we are not running and definitely not flying yet, but we are aiming for it. So what was the thing that actually made us click and go into data mesh? I think there were two main things that drove us saying, hey, we cannot continue in this direction. We're going to move in a different way. And those were that, one, all we did was driven by issues and escalation. So we were firefighting most of the time. Projects were driven because someone had realized that a critical issue had happened and that had to be fixed. We had no strategy whatsoever. The second thing is that for us, and we say, okay, we need to fix all of that. But when we look at what we had been building for the last 5 or 6 years, we realized that the cost of technical debt was so huge that paying it back was not worth it. So we said we need a different thing. And that different thing happened to be for us data mesh because it ticked many of the boxes. So this was our kind of our tipping point, and we got into data mesh. So what I want to walk you through is our 0 to 1, how we went from not knowing what this was, literally not anyone knowing what this data mesh thing was, no matter how many talks from the ThoughtWorks people, we didn't get it, and how we got there to actually have our first data product. So here, and I'm something that Enrique said resonates a lot. We didn't get this right on the first pass, maybe not on the second. Actually, this is what we learned over time after our failures. So the first, we believe that there are 3 key things that made us get to having our first data products. And one of them is teams. So we chose essentially a data product team, one, not 10, one, and the platform team. And we got them over time very close together. Because even if the definition of a platform team is that they provide capabilities, those capabilities don't exist on day one. So we had to have both teams working very close together. So both the people using the platform and those creating it were actually understanding what were those capabilities, how we could evolve them. The second one, and I think, Oscar, you were saying that this doesn't come for free, and this is very true, and it's true in multiple dimensions. We believe that for data mesh to succeed, this needs to come from the top. So you need chief C-level, the board level sponsorship, because you're going to invest a bit of time until you see the results. Like, it's been a year now, and now we are seeing those real outcomes. But on the first 6 months, we saw data products, but we didn't see what was the value. So it takes a leap of faith to get there, and that's why you need a sponsorship. And the last thing is, you should choose your MVP right, and focus on capabilities, building those capabilities, rather than having 3, 5, 10, 20 data products out of the door, because that's not the real value. And I want you to double click on this, because this is an example of a data product or a set of data products that we are delivering today. If you look at the end, at the last data product, which is the contribution margin, essentially how much money we make from orders, all that data mesh is what we need to fulfill before we actually can produce what we wanted, which is how much money are we making. So we didn't choose one complex data product like this to start with, because we had to resolve all these dependencies in many different teams until we could produce something that was valuable to the business. So we went a lot simpler than that. We went for a data product with essentially was reading from 2 different sources, having transformation and a few output data ports, but it had no dependencies with others. And the other thing is that our MVP approach, we followed this concept of the thin slice, in which we didn't deliver any capability at its full. We didn't have all Glovo moving into data product teams. We didn't fully define all domains. We started small on one use case and as simple as possible to get this MVP out of the door. And those 3 aspects are what I believe have been the key to get where we got, which was essentially 5 p.m., 31st of December, our team put in the first data product in production and everyone celebrating to finish the year. That's great, but honestly, as I said, we had 2 data products. We aimed for hundreds, so that didn't take us far. We had some capabilities there. Now, how are we scaling it? And this is pretty much the phase in which we are now. So the focus has shifted completely. On the first thing is, now it is really about how do we make that process of building data products seamless? How do we get this developer experience right? So we get to our vision. Our vision is data products in 3 clicks. Let's see, maybe it's 4 or 5, but that's how do we get there? The second thing is, okay, we have the capabilities, but we still needed some critical mass of people getting into data mesh. We need to enable many teams, and for that, we actually built an enablement team that came hand in hand with data product teams to get them up to speed. And now, and this comes back to the sponsorship thing, now we need to prove the impact that this is bringing. Because in the end, it's hard to, like, before we had data, it's not that Glovo had no data until today. We had data, but the reality is that data didn't have quality. You had to check 5 different sources. You read it and you said, I don't know, I hope it's right because I have to produce this report by tomorrow, but I'll never know. So, and then you realize, and came this escalation, and this was not tolerable. So now we actually need to say, hey, you've gone, you wanted to answer your question, you had that data easily accessible, and that availability of the data has saved you so much time and is making this company so laser focused on where it needs to be, that this is where the impact and the value is coming from. So that's where the focus, where we are putting the focus right now. And to get here, there have been a number of changes at organization level, at team level, that I think are also important to share if you are considering this journey. Yeah. So pre-data mesh, we were having platform teams that were owning pipelines, were owning data. Everyone had dependencies on them. And the local data teams were mainly doing the last mile. So the data platform team was doing so much, and we were asking from them so much. And then the local teams could only do just the last bit. What changes now is that now platform teams only focus on capabilities. They are there to develop capabilities. They shouldn't own a thing. On the other hand, now we have data product teams developing data products end to end. And I think Enrico was mentioning that about the motivation of the teams, that before it was you could do so little. Now you can do end to end and fully own what you're producing, and it really has an impact on teams. On the other thing, we talk about that data mesh is domain-driven architectures applied to data. Well, disclosure, we didn't change our domains on a first pass. Yeah. So when we started with data mesh, we said, okay, we are going to stick to the domains that exist at a company level. We're not going to challenge the data flows. That's fine. But we're going to start making teams that were fully embedded into other engineering teams. We're going to convert that into data product teams and see how this goes. Yeah, this was our first phase. What we are now doing as we scale up is that now we are redefining those domains based on the data flows while we continue investing in data product teams. Okay, so we didn't do this on a first pass, because again, you cannot change it all in one go if you actually want movement. And one of the biggest challenges that probably if you are into this or you are interested in this, you're going to find is mindset, because essentially we've been working for this way for so many years, not only at this company, but globally in the industry. And now we're changing the paradigm, and it's a big thing. And we had to do a lot of effort to change the mindset, and we have to do a lot of effort to change the mindset. We have not succeeded, don't get me wrong. And one of the things that we do a lot is to talk about it. I have spent a week in which I have given 3 talks to different groups about data mesh, and the people in my teams that say we need to talk a lot about it so people start getting it. We have such a long way to go yet, but we need to talk about it. The second thing is we made data mesh part of the team goals, and delivering data products started being part. We work in OKRs. It was part of their OKRs. Something else, and that's something that we're investing on now, is that we had, like, the company had inertia. You don't do anything, and it will continue doing its regular flow for a long, long time. So the way we are tweaking it is that we are adding extra friction to continue in the old world, in the old way of doing things, in creating quick and dirty things. We are adding friction there. So coming to data mesh is more and more appealing. And the last thing, and before I talk about it, everywhere to everyone, having data product managers who are doing this job for you and having them spread across the company is very important. So sponsoring the figure of the data product manager, which is something that we could have done better and now are trying to put a bit more emphasis on it, is also very important. Just to finish, I want to go through 4 learnings that we took out of this. So the first one is that value takes time to arrive. So we got into this really eager to see real value coming out of the door very quickly. And it takes time. It takes time because it's a big investment. You need to change the way in which teams work. And we are essentially transforming a big organization. So data mesh only makes sense at scale, and change things at scale take a bit of time. And yeah, that was the first learning. The second one is that the show must go on. The company needs to continue operating, yeah. But you are at the same time changing the paradigm. And we didn't say, oh, hold on a second. We are going to be putting data on pause for 9 months, and then everything will be all right. We had to continue as usual, and that's the same feeling. We were fixing it while moving, and that meant that we had to do extra investment, yeah, people and ways of working and many things. The next one is that compromises are very painful. When we got the first data products out of the door, maybe Oscar came here, look at the capabilities, and he might have said, not sure we can call this strictly a data product. We had to make those compromises, yeah. We actually, our first data product, the data that they were using, it was there already. They were not reading the data. It was pushed by a different team because it was our first iteration, and that was very painful. And we had this struggle to say, are we going to go and deliver this when it's strictly, this is not data mesh yet? We did, and it is now. But we had to go through that pain to see which is the compromise that is going to take us there the fastest, and obviously repaying everything. And the last one is that governance, and we have global governance, is a lot of work, and we underestimate it. And initially we had like 10% of the time of a few people, and yeah, we started putting together policies and actually designing how this data mesh was going to work at scale. But yeah, we needed a lot more dedication than we thought, and we underestimated, and we believe that a good governance is key for the success. And if we had done it again, we would definitely be putting a lot more manpower, a lot more people or more capacity, which we dedicated very little to governance. And that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much to everyone. And please, the panel can come here. Yes, so now is your moment to make questions. So if you want, just raise your hand. And this is a very good opportunity of learning from Glovo, ThoughtWorks, and Adevinta. Someone has a question? No one? Yes, let's go.
Thank you very much. Actually, I have a question related to the domains, the domain-oriented data mesh. And what do you consider as a domain itself? Is it considered as a microservice itself? Is it considered as each domain is a microservice? The expected the relationships between domains are through APIs? Is it through like SQS? How do you actually merge this data mesh?
We can take it. So now that you mentioned microservices, like there's many people that usually defines data mesh as the microservices for data, which I think it helps to understand a bit more, or in a simple way, what's the goal and some of the benefits. But it's not exactly the same. When we talk about domains, we're talking about business domains. So, but this business domain doesn't need to map with your data domains in the same way it doesn't need to map with your microservices. You have business domains well identified, and if you follow the patterns, you will have bounded context inside of these domains. And at the end, what is important is that your data products belong to a business domain. You have a data product that belongs to the finance domain, because usually you're going to have a structure around that domain. You're going to have an owner, a business owner of that. You're going to have a technical team there, and that's where we want to put the focus on. As I remember when we started helping Glovo with implementation of data mesh, or with the first iteration, the domains were well defined, and it's okay. Let's use it or keep it, because it's something we can use, but it's something you can continue iterating. And even at some point, it makes sense to do some of these compromises and say, okay, maybe the way I have my overall domains structure is not working for data. Let's put a different ones, and I will fix my domains later because it makes sense. But there's not map one-on-one from microservices to data products. It could be like that, but it could not.
So one of the objectives of, when we were like in the old world of operating, where you have this data repository, was to make sure data redundancy and all these kind of things are eliminated. But now, because it's kind of spread with multiple domains, isn't there a risk that you see where there's a lot of redundant data being stored? Of course, there is a trade-off with maybe speed, but at the same time, it comes at a cost of storing similar kind of data. Like every business stores same kind of data with them. And I think the role of governance is crucial here, but I just want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I want to talk about my experience. So I'm not afraid that there is some replication of the data. So you can expect that different domains, they will need similar data to work with, but maybe they are going to build a different data product. So, but it's in their context of the need. So maybe, I don't know, thinking about the Glovo, about the orders, maybe 90% of the domains, they will need to use a common data product and then build something else. So if you try to control from the center, you are going to lose the scalability. So the way that you can solve this is like with the right level of governance, as we say, like we need to have some overhead of linking and defining the standards of how we are going to work. And yes, trying to, and then be agile. When I mean be agile, you're going to be learning and you're going to find some moments that, well, the way that we are working in these different domains is not right. Let's put this federated governance to talk together and define an agreement in a way that they're going to be working moving forward. And then from that moment, you're going to have the right solution. So this is like accelerate, no, in tech, like don't be afraid to have an error, but you need to be really quick to be able to solve it. No, that will be the idea.
So the idea of redundancy is okay till the time you evolve is what I'm learning, like especially when you start off.
Redundancy, that reusable products. So basically, when you don't need to build the same data product. So basically, the way that you're going to expose from a domain a data product. So for example, something that we are thinking in Adevinta is like to measure the way that this reuse your data product. Basically, you are exposing a data product without users, then you are having the risk that everybody is building the same data product because you were not exposing right for the others to be used, no? And they are building. So you need to, the redundancy will come when you're not having the communication and they're trying to build the same.
Right. That's the governance piece. Okay.
It's exactly right. Around the governance.
First of all, thank you for wonderful presentations. And I will stick to the governance question. Can you share some more, say, insight about the hurdles that you have during the finding out what the governance actually means in this kind of distributed domain environment that we are operating?
Yeah. I can talk about my case, that how we are going, and then moving to the next.
If possible, because I'm from Glovo, I would like to hear
okay.
the others.
Yeah, no, sorry, I don't want to be just the way, so something tangible, no? Like the way that we have built inside the Adevinta, no? From the different domains. So we call something called like a distributed enablers. So the ones that are working together, and the main tool that they have is the agreement. The agreement is this governance roles. So basically we have also like in Git, something like is like called like tech and data agreements. So basically you need to open your pull request. This is the new way of doing. And basically we have this common agreement from anybody in data engineering, data analytics, or whatever is your discipline that you're going to follow as soon this pull request is closed. So basically all these agreements, basically what we are moving is that should move into the backlog of the platform and capabilities team. So basically, I don't know, if we define some examples, no? We define that there is different layers, no? Where is the data, classic, no? That there will be more in the raw and more into what is more like a silver ore, if we are talking about how Databricks talks. So we define that data products can't go directly from the bronze area. So from that moment, all the products that are built there are technical debt, and the things that they know that they're going to need to be working and repaying this technical debt. But this is something that we have agreed, everybody, that as soon we are going to be evolving, some technical debt will happen. We need to also align with the things that you need to put fences, start moving and building the new way from this moment, and planning, I don't know, 12 months way, or maybe sometimes even more when you are having like all way of working, this friction that you mentioned, that you will need to repay somehow this technical debt.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentations. I have a question that's kind of related, I suppose, to best practices and the like. Are you seeing any trends evolving in terms of best practices or patterns that you can relate to the discovery and the consumption of data products? So imagine you have teams in different domains building data products, and you have other teams over here that want to consume those data products. How are they discovering them? How are they consuming them? What are you seeing in terms of patterns evolving there, and what technologies are preferred? Thank you.
I'm going to talk about the Adevinta, but maybe better from ThoughtWorks, that they have more like an umbrella view. So in our area, we are just looking as the classic, no? Like we are maybe on the catalog space. We haven't found anything on the market today that is fitting all. So on the technological way, this is maybe another areas of how to have an infrastructure that is scalable. I will say that this is quite advanced, the industry, and we can use different pieces. On the catalog, for almost a year, we're investigating and we haven't found. So basically, we are taking a piece. I can talk here. So more like we are the candidate today that maybe tomorrow we are going to change. No, but it's like we are taking like a LinkedIn Data Hub and taking this one, and then we are gonna, because it's open source, we are gonna take in and readapt for our needs, because at the end, maybe it's our complexity, no? Marketplaces, countries, like how can we do this? And as you say, no, that our aim is that also because we have like global teams in other countries that they are working in machine learning models that then you can use back to the market in a way that how a data product that is exposed in Spain can be used by the central team to create a model that they can be back to the team, no? But this is our ambition. We have cleared the vision. We are trying to solve technically this problem. So I just share what is our current path, and hopefully it's going to be the right one.
I like to add and to take the opportunity of this question to link back to data as a product, because data catalog is a great tool to enable people to access data and to discover data and to explore data. But what you were talking about on how these trends on how different teams interact with each other and how they can find about the needs of other teams, it's treating your data product as a real product. If your data product manager, and I would like to highlight the importance of this role, it's in touch with their stakeholders, with the people that he thinks that might be interested in the data they are handling, and what the team can do to help other teams or areas with the data. This should be organic. Of course, there could be, especially in really large organizations, that cases where it doesn't happen. But generally, I think that's the way to go, that you really understand who is consuming the data you're producing, and you're able first to anticipate who can be useful for and talk with them. Hey, we have this information, I think you could leverage here, and the other way around. If you have a product well-defined, that people can reach you, hey, I think this is really useful for me, could you maybe add this other information you might have or not? And this is the way that we think that data as a product, as the concept, can help to enable this communication between the different teams. And then you can use different tools to make this happen easily. But yeah.
I think that we are in a very similar situation to Enrique, and actually on exactly the same tool. But yeah, what we found, what we found is that the market is behind, especially in the discovery phase. And even if there are some tools out there, and we have actually POC, I think 3 of them, the reality is that it is still not a seamless experience in which you can use Google for searching data and getting what you need. And at least on our side, we think that we need to do a lot internally, so we can get there, in which anyone goes, finds the data, they can have a quick view at it, and they can link it to their transformation and so on. I think there's still space there.
Hi, my question is to Enrique and Pablo, and it's very similar than yours. But I saw in your presentation, Enrique, Enrique, when you showed the common standards and tools, all the data services were grouped at the bottom. And I would like to know the same as him, but regarding what are the best practices for data architecture, data tools. And I mean, it doesn't need to be a secret which kind of tools are trending, which kind of tools we need to test, you know, to achieve data mesh culture. Can you share about it?
Well, our strategy and our view is that basically we are not building infrastructural capabilities. This is not our core of our business. Our core of our business is to make perfect matching between users selling and buying and looking for the things. So as we say before, so we are making a selection and buying. Our study is to buy and to use what is really advanced in the market. So I think nobody is, for example, around cloud. Nobody's thinking if AWS, Google, Azure, nobody's trying to build a cloud to host their capabilities. So let's use the best of these ones and then minimize what you are building. So basically what we are trying to build is the minimum, and what is more important that is, or is what we're trying to follow, that is not connected. So the stack can be the different pieces you can use from different partners or vendors, because maybe we start building, as we said before, our catalog, and then in 6 months time it's happening that is coming up in the market, the best solution, and then we can adapt really quick and grow. I think what Pablo said before is really important. So basically the capability teams, or the ones that are working on capabilities, if you put really far from the business at the beginning, they are not gonna be able to deliver what is needed. So basically we are, I think, as we are working on OKRs. So when we are thinking about OKRs of delivering capability, is with the use case, is not with the capability. So basically they have in common, and basically they need to work together to deliver the use case. So basically just having the capability without users inside is not starting. So it's like having a car that is parked forever and is not used by anybody. So basically something that we learn and we move, that not delivering capabilities on the OKRs, and is delivering use cases and value and scalability. So in the way that we are working. So in terms of technological pieces, something that we are moving recently is like, for example, we are adopting now Databricks. We found that we have Spark 3 server in the past. We tried to build our big data platform based on Hadoop. So now as the industry is moving and you can have like a pay as you go and a lot of services out of the shelf, so we take it and we adopt it. So our engineering team knows that this is like, again, like a car, no? Like every 3-5 years, your capabilities will be evolving. So you don't need to be afraid of getting rid and adopting the new one in order to get up to speed with the market. That will be my few recipes using in Adevinta.
The only thing that I would add, especially when talking about platform and capabilities, is simplicity over completeness. You can do the same with super high qualified people, but that means that only that subset of your population is going to be able to deliver on it. And we try to take it the other way around, in which essentially anyone, the vision that we have is that anyone can build a data product. They don't even need to be data engineers to build a data product. And for that, the way in which we try to structure capabilities is in that direction. I guess that I thought that Oscar would be dying to say that this is not about technology. So I'm going to say it for you. And it's really the case that for us, we believe that we could have done the same in a few different technologies. Yeah.
Hello. So I have a question. Data mesh is all about bringing let's say the ownership of the data to the products, right, to the teams, right? So, but right now you have a team that has to build features and also has to build data products, and you have a product manager and you have a data product manager. How do you manage those priorities? And also, how do you keep the pace in delivering when you have one additional responsibility, let's say?
Which one additional responsibility? Sorry.
Data products. Like right now, you like the team up to now, let's say we were in charge of building features. The product manager brings the features we analyze, we deliver, and now we will be also have to create these data products for our consumers, right? So we have normal features, let's say, and data products. And you have two different stakeholders. So you have a product manager and another product manager. So that's what.
Yeah. So maybe I'll talk about our case. In our case, the data product manager is a separate figure from the product manager. The data product manager is responsible for a data product team. And this changes a lot in the initial stages versus afterwards. Like initially, all you need to do is capabilities. So essentially, but the prioritization process is the same. Is how many use cases is this capability going to enable, and what's the impact of those use cases? That's essentially what we did initially. That's what we're doing now. The difference is that now most of the data products that we deliver don't need additional capabilities. So essentially, teams are fully enabled to do their job. What we now looking, for example, now we are looking about, okay, how do we do streaming data products and what type of capabilities and what are going to be the use cases linked to those capabilities versus, for example, the initiatives that we have for the catalog, for lineage, and so on. And so, does this answer your question?
What? You want to add something?
Yeah.
No?
I'm happy. It's like if you want to know more, always I'm happy to talk, but I don't want to get everybody bored if the pizzas and the drinks are waiting. So.
Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Pablo. And we can continue the conversation and everything with the pizzas and the drinks. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Gracias. Nos hacemos una foto. Sí. Quédense ahí.